you might as well scrape some of this out of there. Break it up a little bit with your hook so that when you go to flush it, you're going to get a lot more out. I mean, you'd be surprised how much I'm taking out right now. It's just coming out. It's just coming out. What you could also do is once you bring some of that forward to the edge here, you can stick your finger in there and just move it around. And what I was doing before, when I flushed my hot water heaters in the past, what I've done is just when I get a little bit of water, I'll turn a little bit of water on, just pump a little bit of water in there, and then as the water's coming out, stick your finger in there and just kind of coax some of it out, right? Just coax some of it out. See, I'm getting chunks just coming out. I'm just moving it around in there as the water's coming, and it's just bringing it out. See that? So, that's a good way to get a lot of the sediment out. Just to give you an idea of how much I've pulled out already. That's how much I've pulled out already. So, do as much as you can. You know, you're not gonna be able to get all of it out, but, you know, get what you can out. What I've been doing is I've been pumping it till it's half full, so it's just dripping. Pour it into a bigger bucket, like that. Get the sediment out of it. Put it back underneath here. Pump the water on for a second, and it's just gonna come gushing out of there. And get your finger in there and just kind of coax some of this sediment out. You'd be surprised how much you're gonna get out by doing this. And you don't have to do this for very long. You can do it for, you know, I've only been doing it for about a few minutes here, but you'd be surprised how much I've been getting out. So I can put my finger in there and just feel the sediment everywhere in there. Just chunks of it. All right. Do it one more time, pump it. And it just spits out tons of it. Whoop. Try not to get too much water down in that little pan there by your hot water heater pan. You don't want to corrode anything, get anything too wet. But as you do this, you'll get more and more sediment out, and you'll help prolong the life of this hot water heater. Then I'm going to pump it one more time. And you see those chunks just flying out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get as much out of this as I can. But, you know, like I said, I could be here for hours doing this. But now that I've broken it up pretty good, I'm going to let that drain. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take me a towel, preferably a nice clean towel. You might want to get it a little bit wet. And just stick your finger in there and clean those threads. You do not want any of these threads to have any sediment, rocks, dirt, sand, any of that in these threads. We don't want to compromise our seal, okay? So we're going to let it finish dripping out. We're going to stick our finger in there and just kind of move our finger around, get some of those things out of those grooves, some of that sediment and dust and dirt. Get it out of there, okay? And once you got it nice and clean, then we can thread on our new valve. So with that, with this new valve, what you're going to want is you're going to want some of that Teflon tape, right? Don't go skimpy on it. Don't just go one time around. Keep in mind that when you put this in, the threads will bugger the tape, so if you just go one time around, it may not be enough to seal it. So I usually like to go around at least a couple times, 2, 3, maybe 4 times. So I'm just going to put that Teflon tape around this. I'm gonna do a good 4 rotations around. I want it thick enough to where it will grab and bite in, but not compromise my seal. So I don't want it too thick to where I can't get it in there, right? But I don't want it too thin to where it's not going to be effective. Okay? So now we're just going to double check that again, make sure that's nice and clean, right? No sediment or rocks or anything in there. Seems pretty clean. I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to take this and just thread it in there. Now try not to cross thread it. If it doesn't feel right, try backing it out and recentering it. But it looks like that one went on pretty good. Just going to go ahead and go hand tight till we can't go anymore. Now when you're doing this, make sure that your Teflon doesn't come off of the end, because it looks like to me that this is coming off. So we're going to back this back out. It looks like that Teflon tape got compromised. See, it got pushed. It got pushed off the threads. See that? That's what we don't want to have happen. So we're going to retape this. Make sure it's good and tight. We may actually go a little bit less on this one this time around. We'll probably do like just 2, maybe 3. So here's 1 full turn around. Here's 2. Two and a half. Well, yeah, 2.5, 3. That's probably good enough. What you'll do too, if you want to get out on there tight, is just kind of in the direction that you were feeding it, kind of just twist it on there and make sure it's nice and tight, right? So it's thin enough to go into the threads a little bit better. So we're gonna thread that back in there. I can tell these threads are pretty tight when I twist this in there. Now I can actually feel that that's going in further. That Teflon tape's going in further, and it's not squashing out. So it's actually grabbing better, so that's good. So now, I'm gonna go as far as we can with our hand, and then we'll use the crescent wrench. So that's about as far as I'll go. And then we'll use the crescent wrench to keep going back around. Now you don't want to go too far. See, that's starting to bind, right, to where that's a little tight. So we're going to back it up a little bit to be even right there. So you'll want to test this and make sure that there's no leaks. So we're going to still keep this cup underneath there, just in case it leaks a little bit when we first test it out. So we're gonna